You wanna hear something scary? Female dialogue in video games. Welcome everybody, it's I, Ghost Guy with one eye, with a new video. Sorry if I sound a little bit off, I'm still not feeling too hot. You know, treatment is still kicking my ass. I wanted to talk about this before it becomes old news. I came across this tweet by Pirate Nation showing 4 pictures with some graphs about women talking in video games. My first thought was to make fun of it, obviously. But after that I decided to look up the full presentation because there's something about the graph they showed that seemed off to me. For example, no word count or any data whatsoever, just a made up percentage. But I like the little bit of attitude that females are blue, males are red, pinkish, really going against those gender norms. Very stunning and brave. I found the Twitch channel it was streamed on, called AdventureXpo, and the presentation was during the AdventureX 2025. Not many people watched this, to no one's surprise, but for you guys, I sat through the entire presentation and the Q&A. The presentation was roughly 30 minutes of sweet baby ink levels of cringe and made up problems that no one who actually buys and plays video games really cares about. I won't go over everything, as most of it is just inconsequential, but I will show you some of my personal highlights of the presentation.
So why should we care? I mean, I think many of you do already. We know that roughly half of people who play video games are women, and that women and gender minority people have a rough time in the gaming community, and surveyed 1,000 people who identify as women who play mobile games, and most of them also play games on PC and console. So 41% of those surveyed reported that playing games really felt like a highlight of their lives. It was something that they looked forward to, but just under a third reported feeling guilty about taking time to play. 16% of those women surveyed reported that they keep their gaming a secret. Perhaps most shockingly, you're more likely to keep it a secret if you're proud of your gaming achievements as a woman.
The reason we should care about this is because of women who play games on their phone, not beating the allegations here. And also, do they keep it a secret, or do they just not bring it up because no one really talks or cares that much about phone games? Oh, this one is a classic.
So the Gina Davis Institute Playbook for Inclusive Game Design features some really interesting statistics. 70% of players across gender categories reported thinking that it's very important that games feature diverse stories and characters. 80% said they wanted to see characters that reflected their own identity, but half said they struggled to find such characters in games. 62% of players, who we think vote with their wallets, report that they're more likely to play a video game with characters that are more diverse than what they usually see in games.
So the reason we should care about this Karen organization is because of another Karen organization. Gotcha. By the way, did anyone tell the people from these surveys that they should also buy these games, or no? Okay.
Well, as you know, all of you, dialogue is often instrumental to player experience. We also know from studying other kinds of media that it can give us real insight into gender bias and representation, and I'll give you an example of that in just a sec. And so one thing that's really valuable about studying dialogue is it can be measured and monitored objectively.
Dialogue is often instrumental, blah blah, it provides insight into no one cares. This, it can be measured and monitored objectively. Keep this one in mind. They then talk about Disney movies because of course they do. Jesus Christ. They show their program which allegedly checked through all these characters and words, but don't even think for a second that they will show you any of the actual data.
We built the video game dialogue corpus. So it's a collection of dialogue from 60 role-playing games published over the last 30 years. It's got now more than 13,000 characters, 11 million words of dialogue, and it's growing all the time. Each line of dialogue is mapped onto who's speaking and its position in the dialogue tree. And we've spent a long time cleaning and fixing this data. So it now represents the biggest resource for studying dialogue in games. We made a game as well that you can play to learn more about this corpus. We're also building tools to help visualize and explore this data. So here's some of the dialogue tree from Baldur's Gate 3, and you can we can look at a demo of this tool on our website.
But it's one thing to have all the dialogue. You then need to work out what gender all the characters are. Otherwise we can't start, determining these patterns. And so for all, well over at this point, 13,000 characters, we coded them for what we call their conferred gender. So that's not the gender that the designer necessarily intended. That's not the gender that a random passerby would think of a character if they saw them on a poster. But rather it's the gender that we think is likely to be attributed to a character by a typical, probably British player, having played the game. So having understood the gender norms of that game world, of that virtual world, what gender identity would they assign to the character?
Shut the fuck up! Shut the fuck up! Shut up! Shut the fuck up!
Okay, let me translate this into normal people's speech. It's not the gender the designer intended. It's not the gender your average person would think it is. No, it's the gender they decide it is. They make the problems so they can sell you the solution if your studio goes bankrupt because no one buys this trash. That's on the charts, right? Remember what they showed earlier? How it can be measured and monitored objectively? Yeah, right. Objectively my ass.
So the first thing to notice is just how few games, spoiler 1, crosses that 50% mark. That is, only one of these games has more than 50% of dialogue spoken by women. Now that includes Final Fantasy X2, which has 3 female protagonists. Come more recently, Final Fantasy 15, all-boy party, less than 25% of dialogue in that game is spoken by women.
So, here are the graphs with the simple percentage words spoken. Source, trust me bro. First of all, I don't believe these percentages are true unless I see actual data. I don't believe for a second Final Fantasy X-2 doesn't hit 50%. And of course Final Fantasy 15 doesn't have more because it's an all-boys party, right? By the way, the lead scenario designer and the one finalizing the script was Saori Itamura, a woman. This also doesn't consider that the last 3 Final Fantasy XIV expansions have been written by Natsuko Ishikawa, also a woman. Is that internalized sexism, or do we have women attacking another woman's work here?
Things are changing. So these are provisional results, don't quote us on them, we're still working on Horizon. But you can see here the difference between Horizon Zero Dawn, female-led game, with just under 50% female dialogue, through to Horizon Forbidden West.
Funny that they bring up Horizon. I just talked about that a couple days ago, but Horizon Forbidden West is not really the best example. The second game didn't even sell half as much as the first one, also pointed out by this Twitter user. Kinda funny. How this game just keeps being the joke. I'm not saying that there's a relation between these two things. I'm just saying I would have looked for a better example. We can skip all of their made-up tests and how they judge dialogues. No one really cares about that. This one's crazy to me. Men and women get different types of compliments.
So, let's start with Stardew Valley. Now, in terms of just sheer balance, this game's pretty even. If you're a man, you're offered ale, and if you're a woman, it's wine. If you're a man, it's creamy pasta. If you're a woman, it's salad. If you're a man, you're described as full of energy. You actually get quite a lot of different compliments if you're a man in the game. If you're a woman, you're always beautiful. If you're a man, people show concern that you spent too much time in the sun. If you're a woman, you've got a lovely tan. And here's my favorite example. If you're a man, you seem to really know your way around a joystick, huh? I guess that makes sense. If you're a woman, I didn't think you'd know how to work a joystick so well, but it seems you're experienced.
How could they? How? Oh my god, I can't believe it. Also, very nice of them to attack and criticize Stardew Valley, you know, one of the biggest, most beloved indie games and also a very inclusive game. It's never enough for these Karens. They gotta find a problem in anything, right? I will show you one more thing. They talk about how the bigger the boobs of an NPC in Final Fantasy XIV are, the less likely they are to carry a weapon.
There's an even more striking finding, and that's there's a variable in the game data that controls bust size and hip size of characters. And to give you the really short version, the bigger your boobs, the less likely you are to carry a weapon. Yeah, let that sink in for a minute. No one's giving me a sword.
And that pretty much sums up the importance of this entire presentation and this problem they have. Jesus. They then give their standard do research bullshit we already know from all the other useless consulting firms like Sweet Baby Inc. Oh, and let's change this one. Let us help you make the kinds of games we want you to make. Fixed it for you. Anyways, what do you think about this topic? Do you count the amount of words characters speak in-game, or are you a normal person and you don't care whatsoever as long as the game is fun? Let me know in the comments below. That's it for today's video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, it really makes a big difference how many people get my videos recommended, and it means a lot to me. You can find me streaming on Twitch, Kick, and Twitter too, links are below. I will see you in the next one, bye!